is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hey, friends, how are you? This is the Celebrity Medium back with another edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report, the only show anywhere that brings you the up-to-the-minute gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. Got some good stuff, as always, for you this week. Some updates, some new stuff. It's just a regular smorgasbord of gossip from the afterlife, and it's here all for you right now. Having patched up their long-running feud, Steve Jobs and Walt Disney are getting back on track rather quickly. They've already broken ground for their joint, still unnamed Disney theme park. Fred Trump, father of President Donald Trump. I just don't like the guy. I'm sorry. I have trouble hiding it. I have trouble being objective about him. But he's been keeping his name in the press by insisting that his son be included in the Hall of Human Greatness, which is the only attraction announced so far for the new Disney park. That's the only thing that Jobs and Disney have said is definitely going to be in the park, is a Hall of Human Greatness. It's similar to the Hall of Presidents in Disneyland and Disney World, but of course in the afterlife there is no government, so it doesn't really make sense to have presidents there. It's going to be audio animatronic figures of people who were considered great all throughout human history. Fred Trump is saying if my son isn't in there, then it isn't a true Hall of Human Greatness. Apparently this is all part of his Make the Afterlife Great Again program. Jobs and Disney had a press conference the other day following the groundbreaking ceremony, and Steve Jobs scoffed at the idea of having Donald Trump in the hall at all, and he said that as far as he was concerned, Fred Trump had a lot of nerve demanding anything from anyone. So, just when you think a feud is over, it looks like a new one is just beginning. Baseball Hall of Famer Babe Ruth, he can't seem to let go of the fact that Professor Stephen Hawking took his old job as the morning show host on radio station Heaven 107, or that Hawking is getting good reviews for the job that he's doing. Now, you may remember a week or so ago I told you that Ruth said he's never heard Hawking's show, but despite that, he told a reporter the other day that Hawking, quote, stinks, unquote, on the air, and that the brilliant scientist turned radio show host, quote, can't hold my jockstrap, unquote. Which is it's a strange thing to say. So obviously this made the news, and Hawking was talking about it on the air using his real voice because he doesn't have to speak through a computer anymore. And he said, he was talking about the jockstrap thing, Hawking said, nor would I have any desire to do so. That seems to be like real British dry wit. You know, you just kind of put Ruth down without having to be rude or using any vulgar language. You know, but I get the sense it isn't going to end here. Ruth, despite the fact that he wants people to believe he quit the job, even though we know he was fired, I suspect is going to keep coming after Hawking because he's kind of ticked over the fact that he no longer has that job. Well, probably the biggest story we've had in months was when Martin Luther King Jr. and his new best friend for life, Adolf Hitler, announced that they are actually a gay couple. They had been friends for some time after Hitler renounced his old Nazi past. And Martin Luther King said that we should accept people when they change and we should embrace them. And they became good friends, and that was all well and good. And then they announced that actually over time they have become lovers, and that actually, some people are perturbed about that. Go figure. So MLK and Hitler are getting a lot of heat from people and groups opposed to homosexuality in the next world. Yes, they exist in the next world. I know that's probably not the way you envision the afterlife, but you get to keep the opinions you had on the earthly plane. So now even their exes are getting in on it. Ava Braun and Coretta Scott King are making the rounds of TV talk shows, giving their opinions about the couple. Now, Coretta is very measured. She says she doesn't really say much of anything, from what I'm told. This is all according to my sources, of course. She says that she wishes her former husband nothing but happiness. Now, maybe underneath that is some bitterness and some resentment, but she's keeping a nice, calm face, and she's saying the politically correct thing. On the other hand, Ava Braun, she can't do that. She's denouncing the very idea of her ex-paramour being involved in a gay relationship, especially with a black man. Now, again, according to my sources, she's thrown a fit on pretty much every show they've gone on together. She starts off kind of calm, and then by the end of the segment, she's just kind of foaming at the mouth. She rejects the very idea that the man she has called the finest human who has ever lived is gay. Now remember, she's talking about the Hitler of Nazi Germany when she calls him the finest human who has ever lived. So her opinions are beyond suspect. She maintains the whole thing about the gay relationship with Martin Luther King Jr. is just a plot on the part of people who wish to destroy Hitler's reputation, if you can believe that. Like he had a great reputation before he got to the afterlife and fell in love with a man. That whole, killing the Jews thing didn't tarnish him at all. Whatever you say, Ava, baby, you be you. David Ogden Stiers and John Mahoney. You know those names. David Ogden Stiers was Charles Emerson Winchester III on MASH, and John Mahoney was Frasier's brother Niles on the show Frasier. And they have been working on a new project. It's a sitcom named The Brothers Johnson. They're supposed to be small town guys who move to the big city, and Mahoney likes to think of himself as a ladies' man, and Stiers is very, very straight-laced, and they live together in a house that they inherited from their parents. How does that work out when they grew up in a small town but their parents own a house in the big city? I don't know. It's a sitcom. So the project has shot a pilot episode, and people who saw that say the two work perfectly together and are completely believable as brothers, and apparently the studio audience just loved it. So the network thinks that it has a certified hit on its hands. Alrighty, that's it for me for this week. Now, I'll be off next week and observing some Memorial Day. But I'll be back the week after that with another roundup of the latest gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. So you've got 2 weeks, and here's what I ask you to do from the kindness of your heart. Please tell your friends, relatives, family members, whatever, bus drivers, whoever you encounter, that the show is available on iTunes. It's all for free, mind you. Let me just get that in there. You can also find it on the Google Play Store. You can find it on YouTube, and if you happen to be in the LA area, you can find it on Monday afternoons at 1 o'clock as part of a show called Inspirato Projecto Radio. I love the fact that it's on terrestrial radio. That just warms the cockles of my heart. And one of these days I'll find out what cockles actually are. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.